there are a couple of things that a soldier can do when they decide that what they're being asked to do as a soldier doesn't fit with the values and code of conduct, the responsibilities that they accepted when they joined the military. And I think that, just like I try to talk in my War and Society class, it's important to begin by understanding what a soldier is. A soldier joins to wage war. That's their job. You know, they are there to put steel on target. They're there to defend their country. They're there to be killers as well as heroes. That's what they imagine that they're doing when they join the military. They're there for whatever personal gain they might get in terms of compensation, money for school, and whatnot, but they're often, almost always joining out of a sense of service as well. They get something back in terms of prestige and a sense of self-worth that comes with doing the right thing. And certainly in the United States, that's something that's encouraged amongst its citizens, just like here in Canada. The conflict comes when soldiers find that what they're asked to do as soldiers conflicts with that code of conduct, that honor that a soldier is supposed to have, that keeps them from being simply a murderer when they do their killing, and instead make them a soldier doing something else, waging war in defense of their country. So this is the problem that we have with the war resistors today. Like many of those people who served in the Vietnam War and many people who have served in wars throughout history on all sides, soldiers can and do decide for themselves on an ethical and moral grounds that what they're being asked to do doesn't fit their conscience, doesn't fit what they believe is what they should be doing to keep their self-respect, to keep their honor, to save their soul, whatever kind of terminology they're going to use to explain themselves. This is where the broader definitions of law kick in. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, just like the Charter of Rights in Canada, the Bill of Rights in the United States, all guarantee us as individuals in a liberal society freedom of conscience, the ability to live and respect ourselves and do what we think is right. The soldier has that as well, and the United Nations has been very explicit that even soldiers, even volunteer soldiers, still have that right to change their minds, to say that war is wrong, that they don't want to participate in it. And that's something that is recognized internationally, is codified in some national laws about conscious objection, but isn't recognized to the degree that the United Nations guidelines set by American regulations. The bottom line for the soldier then is when they find themselves faced with a dilemma of doing what is ordered and doing what is right, they have to decide what they're going to do. They can do the easy thing, the thing that most people do, and that's go along and follow the orders and suffer the consequences. And certainly those people who deal with veterans and who have looked at historically as well as contemporary experiences of soldiers know what that leads to. Barbaric acts, like some of those that we saw here, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder, alcoholism, and all the other things that soldiers do to cope with things. And certainly this is a situation that, again, is an American problem today, as the United States military is experiencing unprecedented rates of suicide and psychological breakdown amongst its soldiers. The braver thing to do, perhaps the more patriotic thing to do, is to stand up for your convictions. And that then has a different couple of forms. Soldiers can resist in place, dissent, protest, and try to hold the United States accountable to the ideas that they thought they were joining to support. And that certainly is something that many patriotic soldiers have done. And the list of soldiers in the United States who have gone to prison for denouncing and rejecting and speaking out against the current wars is impressive and certainly should be respected and appreciated. Those are Americans who decided that they believed in America enough and the ideas that they understood to be the ones they joined to protect, to speak out against the war and try to hold the United States accountable to its own pretensions. And as someone who's worked with a lot of conscious objectors for the last 20 years, I certainly see that as a very good action to follow. I also understand that that sets a standard that we can't all meet. To ask an individual to destroy their lives, to set themselves into prison and all the consequences that prison entails for a country that they feel has already betrayed some of the things that they joined to protect, it's understandable that they maybe would pursue a different alternative. One that was pursued by 50, 60,000 of them back during the Vietnam era, and one that's being pursued by a couple hundred at least right now. And that's to decide to go follow their American ideals, to try to live up to the ideas of truth and justice that they thought the United States represented in another country. And this is a place where Canada steps in. Canada's been an alternative for Americans since the very beginning. The 20% of Americans who came north as United Nations loyalists during the time of the American Revolution, were people that felt that what the United States to come was doing wasn't something they believed in. They had the alternative of coming to Canada to pursue what they understood was their dream here in North America. Slaves who escaped from slavery and came north on the Underground Railroad were doing the same. Americans, again, smaller in number than those other two groups, but there were significant numbers who left the United States and came to Canada to join the military in World War II to fight fascism before the United States was willing to do so. And then, of course, we have the alternative in Vietnam of all the tens of thousands of Americans who came north to begin new lives as conscientious Canadians back during the 70s and 60s. Now we have today's situation. These soldiers are here for a whole variety of individual reasons, but their actions have now placed them on the global stage, as the consequences of their decisions to try to pursue a new life in a new country have put them in peril, again, of not only the military justice system in the United States, but also the justice decision-making apparatus and bureaucracy here in Canada, which is to determine whether or not they get that new start in Canada or whether they get placed back underneath American control to face court-martial and imprisonment. And that's a situation that we Canadians can determine. It's up to us then to decide what we're going to do, what's the right thing for us to follow in terms of codes of conduct. Are we going to live up to the obligations that we have as global citizens under international law? What obligations do we have to fellow Canadians for these new Canadians in the making that are here coming into our immigration system?